Morning, everybody. How you doing today? Another episode of Mornings with Mark. Thanks again for joining today and every day. It is very much appreciated. We are going to continue along with the cybersecurity basics theme. Today we're tackling attack attribution. Now, I am probably going to be face-palming the vast majority of this episode because this is a frustrating point. This is a pet peeve. I hope that I can shed some light on the subject for you all. Attack attribution, simply put, is figuring out who is behind a specific cyber attack. So, attack A happens, it was person or entity B. Totally easy. Super easy term to define. We're done. Have a great day. Of course, it's more complicated than that. The desire, the sort of very human nature to find out who drives the story. So anytime there's a cyber attack, people are always wondering who it is. And that's totally natural. I'm not trying to dissuade people from figuring that out. The challenge is that it's extremely difficult to make a strong attribution with a high level of confidence. You're going to see a variety of statements in the media. I myself do a lot of media work, so I deal with this question all the time. And in fact, I don't normally call this out, but my background is as a forensic scientist. I've done a number of investigations, number of years doing investigations. I've dealt with this question at a legal level, at a public sentiment level, and just at a useful, defensive level. So the challenge here is, how do you say that it was Mark sitting behind the keyboard that launched a specific cyber attack? And the answer is, it's really hard to do that. You can normally find little pieces of evidence. The way I kind of normally use a couple analogies to relate this is that when you're dealing with a cyber attack, there's a whole bunch of pieces strewn across the internet that you need to pull together to assemble the puzzle. The goal is sort of, to get as much information as you can to sift through it in order to get these pieces of a puzzle. And you can normally find different properties or attributes of an attack that will point to an entity, but you won't be able to tie that entity to people unless they make a massive mistake. And even then, it's really hard to figure out whether there's a false lead or not. I'll walk you through this with a real-world example because I think it's easier. So let's use WannaCry. WannaCry was a massive malware outbreak in 2017 in the spring, where it shut down systems around the world, especially in Europe, and it purported to be ransomware. It just wasn't really effective at it. There's a lot of debate as to who was behind it. So here you've got malware that's infecting a bunch of systems. So one of the attribution phases is collecting this malware and making sure that you know each infection is in fact from the same strain of malware, or that these strains are related. So you find, system A, okay, you get the malware off of it and you look at it and go, okay, here's what it looks like. You pull it off system B and you go, oh, it's the same thing. System C, oh, it's the same thing. System D, it's not the same thing, but it's close enough that it might be related. It might be just a mutation or an extra change. So we're going to say that all four of these systems, A through D, were attacked by the same campaign or the same entity. Now you start to look for attributes as far as, okay, it talks back to a certain server in the backend to get the ransom key, to update that backend system to let the criminal know. Okay, what do we know about that backend system? There's a little bit of pieces here or there. We know this IP has been used in different attacks before. We know that this IP has also attacked system E. Okay, well now we've got more pieces of the puzzle. But at no point does that relate to Mark behind a keyboard typing and attacking people. For that, you need information on the server, or you need a confession from me, or you need something else. The point is, even with a deep dive investigation into an attack, from your perspective as a victim, it's really hard to figure out the entity behind it, let alone who's behind that entity. And that's why attack attribution, it isn't that useful for most people, unless you're in law enforcement or nation-state politics. Figuring out who attacked you isn't that useful. Figuring out the category of attacker is extremely useful. So being able to attribute the attack to a specific category, is this just sort of a script kiddie, a random drive-by, it wasn't intentional, it's not directly related to a revenue generating stream? Okay, I can set up automated defenses. Is this sort of mainstream cyber criminal where somebody's trying to make money off of me and I'm just an unintended victim because they're just launching and scanning the internet for vulnerable systems? Or is this a targeted attack? Has somebody picked out me and are they coming after me? those three categories are really all you need to know from an attribution perspective. Sure, it's interesting who attacks the cyber criminals behind it, and there's a lot of work going on from security companies like Trend Micro, where I work, with law enforcement, with nations, with governments trying to figure out who these cyber criminals are. But for the day-to-day, it's really not that useful. And of course, it doesn't help that Hollywood's all about the who. When you see TV shows, when you see movies, they are trying to figure out who, and they make it ridiculously easy. It's extremely hard to figure out who's behind an attack, though attack attribution is exactly that. Far more effective is figuring out the category of attacker. That will actually help you take steps to protect yourself, and that's really what this is all about. What do you think? Let me know. Hit me up online at MarkNCA for those of you on the vlogs, and the comments down below. As always, by email, me at markn.ca for everybody, including the podcast listeners. Hope you're set up for a fantastic day. I will talk to you online, and I will see you on the show tomorrow.